Welcome back to the Thrivematic podcast, where we unpack how AI is reshaping the way marketing teams operate in the real world. Today's episode is an interesting one because we're talking about how one of the most complex and satisfying projects we've worked on, our SEO transformation work for a leading liberal arts university in India. We won't name them, but if you know higher education, you'll know exactly who we're talking about and the kind of scale and complexity we were dealing with. We're diving into how we used AI-led tools and processes to manage huge volumes of content, wildly different departmental requirements, and internal teams who didn't live in the SEO land, so to speak. And with me is the person who made half of our AI tools and solutions possible, Sandeep, founder of Thrivematic. So Sandeep, welcome. And shall we get started?
Yeah, let's dive into it. I think this is an exciting topic, an area of interest for us, given our long history with working with education institutes over the years. And in this particular case, a very unique case, like you mentioned, in terms of scale, complexity, both from a SEO point of view, but also from a project management point of view. We'll look at the different angles and the lessons and the learnings that we've had from this experience and ongoing work that we continue to do with this particular client.
Great. So let's set the stage for anyone listening. This university is one of India's top liberal arts institutions. Multiple schools, centers, departments, research groups, and a large admissions ecosystem. Sandeep, before we got started, their search presence looked interesting, to put it mildly. How would you describe their SEO situation when we first came in?
Yeah, this is very unique because it also ties into something that we've discussed in our previous podcasts, particularly how a strong brand helps with SEO. We often tend to think of SEO in very narrow terms of doing some tactical things, technical things, but lose perspective on why or how SEO actually works. And brand is one key component that makes your SEO work not easy, but it reduces friction in terms of the outcomes that you can hope to achieve. So, why that matters here? This is a large university, a very well established brand who built this website and continued adding things to it, like most institutions and most organizations would as they go along. But interestingly, they never considered SEO at any point, and so never actually actively did any SEO work on their website. So all of the online presence and the organic traffic that they were getting was purely from the strength of the brand that they had built. And so compared to some of the other clients that we've worked over the years, where it's a much smaller brand and they don't have the brand presence, you are faced with different kinds of challenges from an SEO perspective that you would have to do to establish and drive organic traffic. In this case, it was more of what are they leaving on the table, because they have something that most people would love to have, which is a strong brand. But because they had ignored SEO completely, there was so much opportunity that they were just leaving on the table. Lots of so-called low-hanging fruit that could have been easily converted was completely ignored. And so when we came on board, like we always do, look at things holistically. We did a complete deep dive audit and uncovered many things, and we've worked with them, in a phase-wise approach. And we'll talk about more of these things as we go along. Like I said, a unique case because of the strong brand, but not having done any SEO work, and yet driving decent amounts of organic traffic, but leaving a lot on the table because it could have been a lot more if it was also SEO optimized. And so that's where we've come in and tried to plug a lot of the holes and issues. And also from a SEO project management standpoint, how do we plan such a project? How do we handle legacy issues, but also address new challenges and new things that the website needs to adapt to, whether it's the AI search or GEO and AEO, things like that. So, yeah.
So if you had to summarize the core problem in one sentence, what was it? Was it scale, complexity, content creation, page quality? What was that one core problem that you sort of saw?
Yeah. And I think the key issue for them was, to put in SEO terms, technical SEO. That's where they had a technical SEO debt, if I were to call it that. They'd accumulated that over a period of time. Strong brand and also very strong content. again, two things that most businesses, most organizations would love to have. They did organically, just by the nature of their organization and the way they operate. They have these two things largely covered. Again, there's room for optimization there as well. But where things were seriously lacking was the technical SEO aspect. And we can get into what that means and specifically in this case, what were some of those issues. But yeah.
And this wasn't a problem humans alone could sort of brute force their way through, was it? Because, I mean, we did create solutions for them that supported a lot of the technical SEO aspects that were required for their website.
Yeah, absolutely. I think something that you mentioned earlier, given the scale of the organization and therefore the large website that we handle, easily 10,000 plus pages, and like you said, multiple schools, colleges, departments, each with their own programs, each with their own needs, and large website, a complex website in terms of content architecture, and multiple users who are accessing the website and updating content, not just from a end viewer perspective. So to manage something like this and with a website that had accumulated some SEO technical debt, like I said earlier, would have meant that we would have spent a lot of hours trying to fix some of these issues one by one. And while some had to be done, some really difficult technical issues related to performance, consistency across the site in terms of the design and things of that nature, given our WordPress technical expertise, we were able to help them on that front and address whether it was server issues, performance issues, etc. But when it comes to SEO, one example that comes to mind where we actually built a AI solution we developed the tool using AI, integrated AI into the tool to be able to automate and scale our efforts. So this particular example is related to what are called alternative or alt tags for images. So a quick explainer for those who don't know, the crawlers that search engines use to crawl and index websites can crawl and understand text. They can't really understand code, whether it's JavaScript or any other code or images. But what they can do is if the image has a tag that describes what that image is about, they can read that and get a sense of what that image is meant for. And given how most websites are so visual in nature and you have so many images, website with 10,000 plus pages, you can imagine how many images are there on this website. For us to be able to add and because no SEO work was done on this website, none of the images had these alt tags. And so for us to actually add this one by one would have taken an insane amount of time. And so we quickly tested this idea of how we can use AI to read the image and generate the alternative text, alt tags. There are tools available online where you can actually upload an image, generate the text, but you still have to copy and paste that into the back end of this website. So you're only partially solving that problem. And so what we did was we built a plugin specifically for this website, integrated into the interface that did a couple of things. One, every time you uploaded a new image, there was a little button that said generate text. And when you clicked it, it would send the image to the AI, large language model, which would then generate that text and give you the output right there in the interface. And all you had to do was accept or save it. What we also did was in the background, gave the AI the context about the website. So it knows, it has the background about the industry the website is in, the brand, and things of that nature. So the alternative text wouldn't be wildly, off brand and off topic. What we did to address your point about scale, given that there was a backlog of so many images that we had to address, along with all the new images that were being uploaded on a daily basis, because so much content is created on this website, was that we created a bulk update option where you could select more than one, 10, hundreds, thousands of images, and then do a bulk update. And so we were able to scale our efforts, reduce the manual effort significantly, and also ensure that the consistency and accuracy of these alt tags are also maintained. So this was one such example of how we were able to build this plugin in a matter of a couple of days, because we leveraged AI to build the plugin And we leveraged AI to actually generate the text as well. So Gen AI in sort of through and through.
So, I mean, clearly, manual only SEO was not an approach that was feasible for a project like this. And once we understood the chaos, and we didn't really start by saying, let's optimize 200 pages, we actually built a strategy around their goals. And like you've talked about, built tools to also help us optimize their website and for us to be a lot more efficient, right? Cutting down multiple hours and benefiting them as well in terms of a quick turnaround. Obviously, a lot of SEO work tends to happen periodically, and a lot of pieces sort of have to be consistently done. But the bulk of it, especially when they don't have any SEO happening on their website in itself, needs to sort of get kicked off at the very get-go. And AI essentially has helped us do a lot of that. Through all of this, how did you sort of decide that, this is the kind of strategy that we need to take, and this is the kind of approach that we need to think of as well, especially given the context of the brand? I mean, everybody's struggling to build brand, but here a brand exists and we just need to figure out how to optimize their website better. And so therefore, how do you prioritize what to fix first?
Right. Yeah. So this is a different kind of a challenge. And what we had to do was also balance the new work that was constantly coming, because it's not a inactive website. It's not a 5-page static corporate website, right? It's constantly being updated, new details, new faculty, new programs, admissions. There's activity, throughout. And so we had to ensure that that is responded to, in a reasonable amount of time, while we work on, making up or covering up some of the backlog of issues that we had found in our deep dive audit. And so that was one, to find a balance between the two. And of course, this is always something that you work out with the client, depending on sort of the priorities. And that can also wax and wane given the admission season or a new program launch. So you manage that through sort of communication and building that relationship with the also, we looked at it from a effort impact priority matrix to see what were the things that were absolutely critical, that had to be done regardless of the effort. So those were first priority. Then we also looked at things that we could automate, like the example that we just spoke about, using building tools, which again, the effort was about 2 days to actually build, test, and then roll out that plugin, which then saved us hundreds of hours of work. And so we acted on those kind of solutions that could expand the amount of work that we could do. And so then we planned these things, in a way that address their immediate priorities, but also the technical issues and how critical it was for the website. So we had to find a balance between the two.
So once the strategy was in place, the real work really began. And that's where things started getting really interesting. One thing a lot of people are not going to realize is that for a project like this, and like you mentioned, there are existing tools on the market, but no existing SEO tool on the market could handle the volume and the level of customization and scale we needed. So as a result, we built our own. And obviously, we did the tagging, a lot of the audits. But can you walk us through the main categories of tools we ended up building specifically for this client, beyond just the tagging system and running an audit? And I think we've also built a audit tool right now. It's not yet been released, but it's a tool that makes life easier for anyone who has some marginal interest in understanding how their website is functioning from an SEO standpoint.
Right. So, along the theme of Gen AI, we used AI to also be able to update the page titles and the meta descriptions on the website, again at scale. And we also did this in a way that addressed the organization's specific requirement, which was that given there are so many departments and schools, colleges within this university, each with a very specific requirement, they wanted to see, approve, and only then publish any changes to that page title or meta description. And this would have been harder to do if we were to just pick an off-the-shelf AI tool. So again, we built something, tested it thoroughly, and then updated it after we got feedback that they want an approval stage. And so we were able to design this plugin for this client that would just generate titles and meta descriptions, but it would do so again keeping the context of the brand in mind. We also had a configuration panel where you can configure the rules for how titles and meta descriptions are generated, keeping SEO best practices in mind, the limit of the characters, where you place the keyword, how do you structure it, all of those things, right? And you can define your own rules. You can also, what it also does is before it generates the title and the meta description, it scans the content of that particular page. So it has context of the brand and the page and also the keyword. So you given all of these parameters before you generate the title and the meta description, which is easier to do because it is integrated with the website versus using a third party tool which doesn't have any of this context. And with AI, as we know, the difference in quality is always the context, right? And the better it is trained and the more context it has, the more accurate and relevant the answers are. And so that's how we were able to do another plugin of this nature. We've also developed plugins again in QuickTime specific to this university to add structured data. Structured data has benefits from an SEO standpoint. You also hear a lot of people talk about how schema is great for GEO and AEO. While we didn't do this keeping GEO and AEO in mind, we did this because it is fundamentally a good thing to do on a website. And that's something that we keep coming back to, and even in our previous conversations, that not about just chasing the latest buzzwords of in AI, whether it's the generative engine optimization or answer engine optimization. If you do things fundamentally well and optimize the website, you are going to check off many of those things, that these new words, the new things that are being talked about. You address a lot of those things automatically, and so that's always been our approach, and the same holds true in this case as well.
So, I mean, obviously, this tool is built for very specific SEO usage. But when you're talking about a university of this size and nature, you're going to also have non-SEO teams using a lot of these tools. So, how did we build these tools for scaled usage so they could be used by non-SEO teams? And as a result, what kind of impact did these tools also have in terms of our delivery, shortening turnaround times or improving outcomes for the university?
Yeah, I think getting non-marketing, non-technical folk to be self-sufficient is something that is actually at the core of how we work as an agency, both from a WordPress technical standpoint and from a marketing standpoint. We always try and enable them to be able to manage portions of their website and any administrative work on their own and not be tied or dependent on us to be able to do simple things. And so that is ingrained in how we work, and it's also part of how we design some of these tools. Additionally, what we've also done is with this client, we have provided them templates. So for SEO, for example, like I mentioned earlier, it's not just trying to address the backlog of issues, but also to ensure that no new issues are created. And so, while we are trying to fix a whole set of accumulated SEO technical debt, you don't want new ones to be introduced. So then you're not really moving the needle. We've spent multiple sessions with the client, educating them on some of the best practices, but we've also given them a SOP checklist that they can follow when they're publishing content. And this has been circulated among all the different departments, all of those people who upload and publish content on the website. So they ensure that there's consistency, they understand the basics, and they also follow all of these things to ensure the hygiene is maintained. We've also done workshops with them to, again, educate them, train them, and make them understand why all of these things are important, and helps in building the overall presence of the website. So, it's not something that just the agency does and the client doesn't have to, can continue doing things the old way. So we've, through multiple sessions and engagements, educated them and trained them to understand why this is important, and also given them easy to follow processes.
And so then the most interesting part, the departments, right? How did their specific needs push us to expand or adapt the tools? Because, I mean, every department's going to have a different requirement, whether it's admissions wanting conversions or leads, or whether program heads wanting different metadata structures, or research centers needing academic tone to be slightly different. So how did we adapt all of these tools to speak to each of these departments' requirements and needs?
Yeah, I think this just adds another layer of complexity to the project management that I was referring to earlier. And I think before I get to, this part, I think what is really important is to have almost an SEO champion within the client's organization who will take it upon themselves to push this internally to ensure everybody's aligned and understand the importance. And this applies to maybe other important long-term strategic things that our organization needs to do, because SEO is not a one-off activity. It is something that happens consistently over a period of time, and generally outcomes are not instantaneous. So it requires somebody within the organization to completely buy in, believe that this is something that is needed for the brand and for the organization, and to be able to push this internally. And therefore, either this person or another central team, in our case, we worked with the brand and the marketing team, which was responsible for the entire university brand and the website, to act as the sort of the nodal point, and then help us coordinate with the various departments and teams inside their organization with conflicting requirements, conflicting priorities, and so on. And sometimes you just have to use good project management skills, coordination, good relationships that you build with clients to be able to resolve some of these conflicts in priorities, right? And differing needs. And it helps that there is somebody on the other side who gets the big picture, and then based on that can, prioritize, deprioritize certain things. So I think that is as critical as is, being able to build a customized tool, or in this case, customized AI tools. So yeah, so that's something that we've been doing with this client. It's an ongoing process, and I think that's very relevant when you deal with organizations of this size and scale, that the processes, the coordination, the communication has as much, if not bigger, impact on the successful outcome of a project like this. So I think that's something not just other agencies, but I think, other businesses or organizations that operate at scale need to consider.
So just to reiterate this for our listeners, we weren't just working with one team. At one point, we had schools, research centers, labs, the admissions vertical, the brand and communications team, all with different priorities. And all had very different and very specific SEO needs between them. For example, the admissions team would obviously want conversion and clarity, the research team, authority and depth, the individual departments would need their niche, which ties back to long tail keywords, obviously faculty pages to establish credibility, and all of that would also come from the brand team. And we did set up a working model so everything stayed coherent across all stakeholders, templates, centralized governance. We had an SEO sort of champion from the client side as well. Sandeep, do you remember any moment where a quick win really helped unlock their internal buy-in?
Yeah, I think the AI tools were certainly something that helped them realize, firstly, the scale of issues that were there, and the fact that they got addressed, and because of the automation, helped them realize that there is a lot to be done, and they were frankly very open to new ideas and experiments like this, which were tested and validated and then rolled out to the website. And so that always helps, that the client is open to ideas from the agency. And yeah, so I think being able to implement these changes quickly. You mentioned the needs of different teams, like for example, the admissions team obviously is concerned about conversions and how people navigate a particular page or a admissions landing page. That reminds me how SEO is also multifaceted. It's not just keywords, not just on page. It involves performance, it involves conversions, involves how users interact and behave on the website. And given our broad expertise with the tech, design, and marketing, we actually were able to work with a few departments to conversion optimize some of their landing pages, keeping the messaging largely intact. How do we structure the page in a way that is optimized for conversion, and you eliminate things that would be distracting, that would take the user away from the goal of the page, which might be to send that person to the application form, for example. So those were also interventions that we were able to do and implement for the client. And yeah, and I think performance was also a big one from a technical perspective, because of the large website, and also the images were not being optimized, and there were other uh, complicated uh, issues in code which we were able to fix progressively over a period of time, and reflect in the monthly and quarterly reports that we share with them. So the performance grades, went from as low as E, or hovering around 40%, going up to B, A. Load times decreased significantly. So we've looked at all of these things holistically over the many months that we've worked with them. We've also seen an increase in organic traffic. Given that this is a large website with a good amount of organic traffic anyway, the percentage increase might be lower, but we're talking of big numbers. So, but we were able to see meaningful increase in their organic traffic, and we were also able to see a reduction in bounce rates. We're spending more time on the page. The conversion rates were also increasing. So all around, there was a consistent increase quarter on quarter in these key areas, whether it was organic traffic, reduction in bounce rate, or an increase in the CTR, click-through rates.
So, one of my favorite parts of this entire engagement was the internal upskilling. And I think this ties back to something we discuss quite frequently in terms of having a client who is equally invested in understanding the domain of expertise that we bring to the table. And many teams within the organization had limited exposure to SEO, but they were highly knowledgeable about the subject matter in their specific domains. When it came to understanding SEO, obviously it's something that the expertise that we bring to the table. And so when we first met the in-house teams, there was a lot of misconceptions or knowledge gaps that we saw. What were some of the key pieces that you noticed that sort of stood out and that we realized that needed us to intervene and support them in understanding this better?
Yeah, I think one good thing was that the client was very keen to do SEO. They had realized that because they had not done SEO up until that point, they were leaving a lot of opportunity on the table. So they were generally quite keen to do this, and they were open-minded, and so they were absorbing everything that we were sharing. Aspect that comes to mind, one point that was raised in one of the meetings, which particularly stands out, was the question around what are we doing with regards to GEO and AEO. We must do something about it, because everyone is doing it, everyone is talking about it. So what are we doing about it? And that question is absolutely understandable, because everywhere you read, I sort of almost in your face, and people talk about how GEO and AEO is the next thing, and we've spent, I think, 2 or 3 podcasts talking about the evolution and separating sort of the noise from the facts and the ground reality. But coming to this question that was asked in one of the meetings, the answer was not sort of a short one. It was a nuanced one, because one, the website had serious technical issues, which was our first priority to address. What we explained to them was we were laying the foundations for the website from an SEO point of view before we could start getting into some of the more advanced things. And GEO and AO, like I mentioned earlier, is an evolution of SEO to address the change in behaviors. Again, something we've spoken about before, and why this is really important to understand. Given how people are now accessing information that may come from your website or from another website, but via a chat interface, an AI chat interface. CEOs our marketers are now trying to figure out how do you optimize for that. That's essentially what GEO and AEO does, or what it is supposed to do. But if you, and these are essentially layers that sit on top, but at the bottom of it, the content still comes from sources of authority. And so if your website is still a source of authority on that particular topic, then you still have a high chance of showing up in AI search, not just in traditional search. So you can't abandon good best practices when it comes to SEO just to chase the latest things that people are talking about when it comes to GEO or AEO. And this is what we shared with them, that, look, we are trying to first fix the issues, then we'll address other fundamental pieces, and brick by brick, we will build this up. And now when we are in the phase 3 of our work with this client, in this phase, we are now going to start looking at how can we look at GEO and AO and what additionally can be done to optimize for that specifically. But all of the things that we've done up to this point will automatically help this brand show up in in a searches. So yeah, so those were some of the things that, or this particular aspect was one that stood out from the client's conversations.
So I think it's really fair to say that we shouldn't expect a client to know everything, because if they did, they would never come to an agency like us, right? And I think what works really well to our advantage is the fact that we're constantly working with them to run workshops to help them understand SEO without really overwhelming them. We do a lot of these quick Loom videos. We do smaller group sessions. We're also approaching projects of this nature in a very phased manner, so they understand the importance of building foundations before getting into the buzzword of the day, essentially. Now, obviously, we had to embed ourselves into their existing workflows without it feeling like we were making them do extra homework, so to speak. Can you sort of talk a little bit about how that panned out and how that has helped us over time as we've now gone into the third phase of this project, essentially?
Yeah, I think this phased approach helps us manage the workload, but also ensures that the client is not overwhelmed with trying to do too many things. In any case, there's always the urge to do, all of it at once. As the jokes goes, clients want things done yesterday, but it's a question of managing the expectations, but also explaining the criticality of some of these things, the prioritization, and I think when you lay all of that out, you can find a working model that ensures all of them are addressed in a timely manner. So yeah, so that's something that we have continued to do with this client.
So I know you've talked a little bit about the improvements, the changes that we saw working with this client, but without revealing sensitive numbers, let's talk a little bit about what shifted. What are what are some of the directional improvements we saw in the first couple of quarters, visibility wise, indexing wise, discovery, the technical hygiene, some of the non-obvious wins from this engagement?
Yeah, I think first, one of the big improvements that they saw from their perspective as admin users was the site was now faster to load because it fixed a lot of the technical issues. They were spending less time actually publishing the content, accessing the website, and so on. So those irritants that they had previously before we were onboarded, those were completely uh, ironed out within the first month or so. And so the turnaround times to fix simple things, which would take them days, was now taking just a few hours. So that was something that they saw immediately. The other was from a end user perspective, somebody browsing the website. Because the site had many issues, it would take a few seconds and much longer to load. When somebody is looking for information and if the website takes too long to load, they're not going to wait around. And they might find the same information from other sources, and it may not be authoritative sources. So that's another danger, given particularly now with AI, which can summarize content and give you the answers. So we were able to fix that as well. The website was now loading faster, and like I mentioned, the performance scores saw considerable improvement over a period of time. And now the page loads just under a few seconds. I think under 3 to 4 seconds at most. So those were some of the visible improvements that they were able to see on the website. From a SEO point of view, given that the way we worked with this client was we went program by program that some of the departments were managing, and we were optimizing these. And these were almost like microsites within the larger site. Technically not a microsite, but you could look at it from that point of view. For example, the bounce rate for one of them, in fact, for the entire website was hovering, in the high 60s, 60%, meaning 60% of the people who came to the website would leave without browsing any further. We were able to bring it down under 50%. This is for the entire site, right? And specific programs also saw reduction in bounce rates. Organic traffic, for example, the undergrad courses, that part of the website was saw almost 16% increase in organic traffic. Again, one thing to note is that the base here is much higher. We're not starting from a small base. So even a small percent of increase in organic traffic is quite meaningful. And so they were able to see that. This part of the website, our undergrad section, also saw a good increase in click-through rates. It almost doubled, meaning the number of people who were clicking through went up 2x. So that was also something that the client noticed over the months.
So if we were starting this project today, what is one thing that you would do differently from day one? Would it be a tool-first approach earlier? Would it be tighter content governance? Would it be maybe department by department roadmaps? What is the one thing that you do differently from day one?
I think the amount of time that we spent auditing the website to understand the scale and the depth of the website, we would also spend maybe a similar amount of time trying to understand the dynamics of how the organization works, if that makes sense, how the different departments coordinate, the number of people who publish content, the different needs, conflicting needs, maybe conflicting priorities, to get a sense of that sooner, to be able to then manage those things so that we can respond accordingly with the SEO work that we do. So I think that was a very useful and interesting lesson for us, and learning that, it's not just the tasks that we do, the tools that we build, but it's always in context with the kind of organization you're working with, how they operate, and understanding that, gives you a better chance to deliver successful outcomes, because you don't operate in a vacuum, right? It is a collaborative effort. And so the more efficient that collaboration is with the client, the better the outcomes are and the faster the outcomes are. So yeah, so I think that was a key lesson for us.
So now talking about lessons for other universities or complex organizations, essentially. Using this project that we've done, what's one lesson from this project that you think other universities or other educational institutions or complex organizations should essentially steal? Is it governance? Is it decentralized creation? Using AI tools as guardrails? Clarity over volume? What is that one lesson that these other universities should essentially take away?
I think governance, or maybe having a SOP in how the digital property, the website is managed, whether that is uploading of content, publishing of content, the marketing activities that they do. I think there needs to be a structure. Otherwise, it tends to be chaotic if there are multiple departments, multiple people involved. So I think establishing that will smoothen out a lot of the issues that will come up. So I think organizations, universities need to pay attention to that. And I can understand why a lot of them might struggle to do it, because they may not have the knowledge or the expertise in managing a website. But unfortunately, a lot of the agencies that they onboard are also just focused on implementing what they're asked to implement and saying yes to the requirements, without having a strategic view on how to manage the project and how to manage the website for long-term success. The other, I think, point that I'd like to make is, and we've seen this with businesses across industries, and it applies here as well. Leads or admissions tend to take the center stage. They're always a pressing priority, pressing need. And if you don't plan for it, you're always playing catch up. And when you're playing catch up, it tends to affect a lot of other things which you have to do to get long-term success. Things that you need to do consistently over a period of time to achieve long-term success. But that's brand building, and essentially SEO is also doing that kind of work, consistent work over a period of time. These tend to get sidelined, and people tend to prioritize the short-term outcomes and the short-term benefits, and therefore they tend to lean towards performance marketing, running ads, and things of that nature, purely keeping the admission season that might already be running or what might be coming up very soon. And then when you go from this one season to the next, you're only focusing on this, and you tend to accumulate issues that may not be visible, may not be apparent to you as an organization, but will start to affect negatively when the student or the parent or even the industry that might want to tie up with you sees that the website is not accurately reflecting the things that you seem to say in person, or the website is not loading fast enough. It's inaccurate. It's not showing up in key areas when the students or the parents are searching for it. So it is a multifaceted, multi-dimensional space when it comes to search engine optimization. And search can happen in any place, right? Wherever the user is searching for, you need to find a way to show up. So SEO is not just traditional Google search. Now, like we've spoken about in our previous podcast of how search has evolved and search behaviors have evolved. How do you show up in all of these places? And then if you tend to fall for the hype and say, okay, we need to show up in ChatGPT, and then focus only on that, but forget all of the other fundamental pieces that you need to put in place or fix, then again, you're, not going about doing this the right way. So unfortunately, there are, plenty of agencies that will tend to focus again on getting those quick wins and relying only on that and not helping the client build a more strategic long-term perspective on doing things right that might help build their brand, do SEO correctly, help them structure and organize the content on the website correctly, not from a point of view of how the department wants it or not the way the organization views it, but how it should be done according to how the end user, the student or the parent views the university, and they're from their perspective, from their needs, right? Whether it's admissions or learning more about the university or the different programs or who the faculty is. So yeah, so I think these are some of the lessons that I think other universities can take away, and yes, don't ignore the short-term demands. Those are ever present, and they're perfectly valid things that you need to look at, or for a number of reasons. But don't ignore the medium to long term perspective of doing things that'll get you those benefits that can actually help you, out rank and out compete the other universities in the region or in the area.
So, I mean, as an agency, we've worked extensively in the education space. For over a decade now, we've worked with educational institutions, schools, universities, edtech platforms. But I think this is one of those projects that sort of taught us how powerful AI can be when it's used as leverage and not necessarily a shortcut. It let us scale SEO across a very complex organization without burning people out at our end as an agency, as well as at the client's end. It helped the university's team take ownership of their own content in a way that felt empowering. Now, Sandeep, before we close, for someone who's listening, who manages marketing at a university or a fairly large franchisee school or a large educational institution, what's the best first project for them to attempt with us if they want to try an AI-led SEO approach?
I think an audit is a great place to start. Gives you an idea, firstly, of things that are not apparent and not visible, but issues that exist on your website. And we take a hybrid approach with our AI tools and also our expertise in going through the website. In fact, the tool that we are currently developing and should go live soon does a bunch of things, which looks at your website or your web page from a traditional search lens, but also from an AI search lens. How does it show up in ChatGPT? And not just that, it also looks at how your competitors show up vis-a-vis you for that particular query on traditional search and also on AI search. And then we do a gap analysis. We tell you which competitor is doing things right, and based on that, what can you do? And then we automatically give you, the tool tells you the top 10 opportunities in terms of impact and effort that you can implement, and what are the outcomes you're likely to expect. Like we've spoken about before, we are using AI intentionally to increase our productivity, but also in specifically to a particular client's need in their context, and not just blindly slapping AI onto every other request that comes in. We do that at our own end as experiments for us to learn about all of these latest developments that are happening. But when it comes to doing this for the client, like we've done for all other projects and all other requests, we don't tend to say yes automatically to everything. We assess, we analyze, and we always go back to the client with counter questions and help them think through what they're asking. And often the client themselves will tell us that, okay, this doesn't actually make sense for us to do right now. So I think that is, something that is very key to how we operate and how we work with clients. And yeah, and as a marketing person handling a university website, I would say for them, the first engagement with us could be something like an audit, and very soon they should be able to do this using our tool on their own to get an idea, and then they can choose to take that and do it themselves, or go to someone else, or reach out to us for help. Similarly, we have another tool which uses AI to analyze and identify issues using your Google Analytics data. We know GA4 is quite complex for most marketers to navigate the portal and the interface. So we've built this very simple tool that you log in with your Google account, connect your Google Analytics property, and you run the scan, and you get an instant report in a few minutes that you can view, or you can subscribe and get a weekly summary of your analytics data sent to your inbox like a newsletter. So your own Google Analytics as your own newsletter telling you what the data from the last 7 days or the last 30 days mean, and are there any potential issues, and so on. So we're constantly working on building these tools that can help marketers leverage AI, but in a meaningful way that can actually assist them in doing their work better.
So this was obviously a project that we've been wanting to talk about for a long while now because of the scale and complexity of the work that went into it. Now, as a university, as a school, any educational institution, if you actually want to learn how you can do the same thing for your institution, next podcast, we're going to be deep diving into how this would sort of pan out and what are the fundamentals and what are the basic steps that you need to take to essentially build a more robust SEO and AI-led SEO strategy for your institution. Thank you for listening. If you want to explore how AI-led SEO could work for your organization, you can reach out to us at Thrivematic. Stay tuned for our next episode where we're focusing on what education institutions specifically can be doing. Until next time, keep experimenting, keep iterating, and keep letting AI make your marketing smarter.